Have you been told you need to stop doing what you love, whether it's exercise, running, or a sport? Well, here at Dynamic, we don't like that answer. In this podcast, we'll talk to leaders in the health and wellness space from Southwest Florida to get the solutions you need to get you back to doing what you love. Welcome to the Dynamic Naples Podcast. John.
Steve.
That's my middle name, actually.
I know.
It's Steven.
I feel like all Steves are perverts.
Oh, just tell it to my dad. My dad's name is Steven. Anyways, what's going on? How are you?
What's your mom's name?
Lauren.
Lauren.
Yep.
I did meet them.
We're still a little bit loud. Just move the mic away a bit. There you go.
I did meet them.
Yeah, they're good people.
They're good people.
Yeah.
Your mom looks all like you.
Yes, that's what I've been told. If you put a wig on me, I look like my mom.
Yeah, you guys got the same face.
Yeah, same nose.
I think I saw a picture of you when you were young.
A Roman nose.
I think I saw a picture of you when you were young, and I was like, man, his mom was really ugly when she was young, but then it was just you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I'll make sure I tell her that. I'll tell her to listen to this podcast. All right, enough of that. So, hormesis, the hormetic effect, that's what we're talking about today. Sound good?
Is this the one that that Wim Hof guy always is talking about? Or is this a different thing?
It certainly comes into play with ice baths and all that stuff. That is, producing the hormetic effect. I don't listen to a lot of what Wim has to say. I don't know. Just haven't really.
Didn't you take the course?
No, my brother did.
Oh.
But I imagine he probably talks about hormesis.
I thought you did the course and you had like out of body experiences.
No, we had one of his instructors came and did a whole seminar at our clinic, and it was awesome. Yeah. But there was no talk of hormesis. We actually didn't really get into the science behind the ice baths and all, the breathing and all that.
It was more about the techniques.
Yeah, and the instructor, Yuri, who's super cool. He's like, if anyone wants to know the science behind it, I can tell you. But he's like, it kind of doesn't matter. It's really about the mindset and all that. So what do you know about the hormetic effect?
I know nothing.
I
know that it has something to do with longevity, correct?
Yeah, you could say that. I think it happens in all different levels. It basically means, the expression, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Mm-hmm. That's hormesis. It's do enough of something to challenge you, not so much that kills you, but you become more resilient because of it.
Yeah, so that guy, Dr. David Sinclair, who I've mentioned a couple of times on the podcast. I definitely find what he says interesting. Yeah. And I'll be honest, I'm kind of excited for the opportunity to live to like 120 if I can get there. Mm-hmm. And he talks about like adversity genes, like genes that are specifically triggered that improve longevity in times of adversity, which is, we talked about fasting. That's why you would do a long fast from a day-to-day period, maybe even a multi-day fast, to turn on these adversity genetics. Does hormesis have anything to do with that?
100% perfect example, right? So some fasting is good. It can trigger all kinds of things we've talked about before, like ketosis, can promote fat loss, obviously, make you more insulin sensitive, right? If you do it too long, you die. Right? So that's the perfect example, fasting. The ice bath is another example, right? You do it for a couple minutes. Now your immune system has adapted. Your body can handle colder temperatures. So that's one of the ideas is like, you get kind of stuck in this perfect little window of 74 to 76 degrees at all times. If it gets to 70, you're like, oh, it's cold. Roll down your sleeves, put on a jacket. If it gets too hot, turn on the AC. Get used to that, and we become kind of fragile in a sense. And then you go travel somewhere where it's really cold or really hot. Your immune system's not equipped to handle that, and then you get sick, right? So one of the ideas behind the ice bath is to expose yourself to different temperatures. And just low dose, like 2 minutes is usually typical. That way, your body's, if you do that repetitively over time, your body can handle it, and then you go travel, you don't get sick. So that's a perfect example of hormesis as well.
Yeah, and I think people are sort of against doing ice baths and stuff, but then they'll still work out really hard. It's like, well, similar concepts there, right? Yep. You got to break your body down a little bit to build it back up. Yep.
Same thing with exercise. Muscle is another perfect example. You want to stress it past its typical workload capacity, but if you do too much, you break it. That's what injury is, when you push past that failure point.
So we're moving forward with the idea that creating a little bit of adversity for the body, whether it's working out, whether it's fasting, whether it's getting in a cold bath, can be good for you in certain doses. But what is like hormesis from a physiological perspective?
Oh, I don't know. I think it depends on what you're talking about. I mean, clarify that question. Like, what's happening on a physiologic level?
Yeah, like when we say hormesis,
yeah,
what things are happening and what do we mean?
Well, it's adaptation of some sort. So if you take muscle, right, you're tearing down a muscle and it's building back stronger, bigger, more sarcomeres, whatever it is. So I think it happens on all different levels. Like with the cold immersion, there's something going on with the immune system. I couldn't tell you exactly what. You know, maybe you get a better response, a fast response, or better regulation. You know, regulation of the immune system is huge. So I think that the answer completely depends on the form of the hormesis.
Okay, so hormesis is not just one specific thing.
Oh, no. It's what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. It's stress plus recovery equals adaptation.
Gotcha. Because I thought, you know, like if we're, you know, having some sort of adversity in the gym, right, that's called hypertrophy, right? We break down our muscles in order to build them back up.
Well, okay, I would say hypertrophy is the end result of the hormetic effect.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Gotcha.
Okay.
And then it could be, you know, not just our muscular physiology, but it could also be cardiovascularly, right? We can have hormesis of the heart in some sort of way.
Yeah, it could be psychological. It could be mindset training. It could be anything, really. Does that stimulate some thought?
Yeah, it just changes my... I thought hormesis was a specific thing.
No, it basically means rock the boat. Get out of your comfort zone. Do something hard every day. That's my little motto. Mm-hmm. That's what it is.
What are some challenging things people should do in low doses that are beneficial to them?
Everything. Well, but let me just talk about, so it's like the area under the curve. So when you map these things...
Eating sugar is not good for you? Should I be doing that?
No, you shouldn't.
Oh,
okay, that's a good point. So when you map these things, like you look at a graph, it always looks like a J curve or a U curve. There's like that area under the curve, that's what we talk about, is the beneficial area. Once you hit a tipping point, then it becomes detrimental. Okay, so whatever you see, that shape on a graph, you're looking at the hormetic effect. And that, you know, I think that really ties into homeostasis, right? The body's always trying to right itself, right? And it can dysregulate. So it's stimulating that same part of the body.
So is hormesis almost like the opposite, where we're trying to cause the body to not be in homeostasis, that way it's to fight back towards it?
Yeah, I think that's what I was alluding to, and I think that's really what it is. Mm-hmm. If you rock the boat too much, you can really set yourself off. But if you do it enough where the body can rebound, it's going to be beneficial. And then your body, theoretically, and this is purely philosophical, right, can rebound better, and you become more resilient.
Mm-hmm. So exercise could do it.
Absolutely.
Doing a fast could do it.
Yep.
Is there a benefit between heat and cold therapies? Or is the jury kind of out as to what you should be doing more of?
Well, I think there's a lot of different levels to answer that question. But with this in mind, yes, there definitely is. I mean, sun exposure is another perfect example. You want to get enough sun to develop a tan, because a tan is basically body armor, right, to prevent you from getting sunburned. That's what a tan really is. Do it too much too fast, you get sunburned, right? Mm-hmm. So that sun exposure is another good example.
Speaking of Dr. David Sinclair and sun exposure, he wears sunblock every time he goes out, ever.
Yep.
Like if he knows he's going to be exposed to the sun for more than 20 minutes, he's putting on sunblock. Thoughts there?
Well, I'm definitely not an expert, but I would disagree with that. I think you need sunlight. We evolved to have sunlight. Sunlight is got a lot of benefits. Vitamin D is the biggest one, I would say, because so many people are so vitamin D deficient, which really ties into autoimmune disease. Autoimmune disease is on the rise because of vitamin D deficiency and some other reasons too. And we're also being told to avoid the sun like it's, cancerous. And it definitely is not. Obviously, too much can be a problem, but the right sun exposure is good. They used to use sun exposure for therapy, for like tuberculosis, I believe it was.
Was it effective?
Yeah, it is. Very, very effective. But all this fear around getting sun, I think, is not right.
I heard this really funny thing on a podcast. There was these two guys that were talking about Elon Musk and going on. I'm not sure if you saw those pictures of Elon Musk on the boat. He's just a white blob. One of the guys called him a volleyball, but he's just completely pale, and doesn't look like he goes to the gym at all. And somebody was like, man, he told his buddies, like, dude, you got to go buy Tesla stock. He's like, why? He's like, because that motherfucker's working. That guy has not seen the sunlight in years. He is in that factory on his hands and knees.
Yeah. I have not seen that. I imagine he's pretty white.
Crazy white.
Okay, so all right, let's take him. So maybe he should only spend a few minutes in the sun and just get enough just to get a little bit of tan going on. And, there's times of the day you want to avoid, obviously, right, because there's different types of radiation. There's A, B, and C, I believe. And I think there's only one that really damages our skin. I believe it's B. Don't quote me on that. And that's the shorter wavelength, which means, all right, wavelength, with sound, like a long wavelength is like bass, and that penetrates, right? That's why when a car goes by and they're playing the music loud, you only hear the bass because that's a long wavelength. Short wavelength is like high-pitched stuff. It doesn't penetrate stuff as well. So the same thing is true with light. So long wavelength, which I believe is type A, and short wavelength, type B, again, I might have those backwards, they have to penetrate the atmosphere. So the one that's damaging, it happens to be a shorter wavelength. So it only really hits us when it's overhead, right? So that's the one to avoid, the one that's because of the angle of the sun, right? So in other words, there's so much atmosphere for the sun to penetrate that only the low wavelength ones make it to the Earth's surface during, sunrise, sunset.
Gotcha.
Okay, so the general rule of thumb is the time to maybe lather up or avoid the sun or wear a hat is when you have a short shadow. If your shadow is as tall as you're generally pretty safe, depending on your skin type.
Interesting. Coming back to hormesis, we talked about also mentally having some hormetic effects and trying to gear towards a little bit of adversity day to day. I read this really good book, Dopamine Nation. I think I've mentioned it on the podcast before. Everybody should read it. It's fantastic. Because one of the things she talks about is doing things that are hard now that end up becoming easier later, and you feel good after you've done them. And I feel like a lot of things that stimulate hormesis are like this. They're kind of hard at the moment, like doing a fast. Like you're hungry throughout the day, but you have this like mental clarity and you feel good. Then after you eat, you still feel good. Another one is like exercise. Like it's really hard while you're doing it, but afterwards you feel better. Another one is like not spending time scrolling on your phone. It's hard to fight that urge, but then at the end of the day when you haven't done that, like you just feel a little bit of relief from the anxiety and whatever else you get from the little dopamine hits from your phone. Modern
day problem. Removal of Instagram scrolling.
Yeah, well,
now Hormetic.
Well, removal of things of abundance. Because they're just all around us, right? Things that feel good in the moment that make you feel bad afterwards. Those are probably actually the bad things, with things that actually probably don't feel great in the moment, but then feel great afterwards, like a cold shower or a cold bath or a hot sauna. Things that are like painful when you do them, but then feel great afterwards. Those are probably things we should probably be gearing our life towards.
Well, I think too many people tip too much into too much comfort and are afraid to do things that are uncomfortable. Whether it's psychological or physical. This is part of, I think, also an older paradigm in the medical field that's like, don't do stuff that hurts. Like, don't deadlift because it's bad for your back. No, you should deadlift so that you can tolerate deadlifting, right? That brings me to what I think is probably my favorite quote, which is, a ship in harbor is safe, but that is not what ships are built for. I think that really summarizes it to me.
Yeah, but I think it could also swing the other way, because she made a good point that she had this one client who was trying to cut out alcohol, I think he was an alcoholic. He was just like, you know what it was? It was cocaine. He was a startup founder in Silicon Valley, and he was just hooked on cocaine. He would use it to just like get him all fired up. He would do it all day. And soon enough, it just caused terrible relationship with his wife. I think he had a kid as well. And so he had to cut it out. So he was like this all-in guy. Anything he did, he went all in. And so he went all in on like not doing cocaine and like living a healthier lifestyle. But he kind of swung in the other direction where he was taking these cold baths for like 10, 20, 30 minutes every single day and just sort of overdoing it on the pain scale and almost getting addicted to the pain. And so there's definitely some sort of balance there. I'm not exactly sure where the balance lies, but you have to sort of also be a good judge here of, okay, I'm doing all these things that cause pain in the moment. How much pain is too much pain? How much pain is damage versus just adversity?
Right. Yeah, this is like a flaw in the human logic. We tend to think it's all or nothing, right? So is this good or bad for me? It's like, well, it's more nuanced than that.
Yes.
That's how humans think, 1 or 0, you know, with just about everything. Like, is eating that piece of fruit good or bad for me? Well, it depends.
Are you pointing at the star fruit?
I just happen to because it's in front of my face.
The star fruit is always good for you.
So
it's never bad for you.
Probably.
You could have 30 of them.
Probably for most people, it's never bad for you. You know, if you're severely diabetic, you might want to cut down fruit temporarily.
Those poor diabetics.
And, you know, fruit's not the best example, but many foods. Okay, you know, a lot of the debate right now in the nutritional world with phytochemicals, like plant defenses, I think is another example. Obviously, Saladino's take is avoid vegetables that are bad for you, right?
Yeah.
Which may be a bit dramatic.
Yeah.
You know,
he likes to yell at the camera.
Well, he knows how to get attention. But let's see, what's one of the ones? The polyphenols, I think, is the one that's kind of debated a lot. I know Rhonda Patrick is pro-polyphenols.
Pro-polyphenols.
And Saladino's not. But it's probably another hormetic thing. There probably is some negatives to a polyphenol, but in the right doses, maybe it is like a medicine.
Yeah, because David Sinclair is pro-vegetables. And I think I don't want to quote him here. I don't want to take anything away because I can't remember if he said this word or not, but it could be pro-polyphenols or something else because he thinks that eating vegetables specifically that were raised in an adverse environment where they had to go through adversity, it's actually better for you, where Saladino would think the exact opposite. He thinks that those plants are going to have these chemical defenses that are actually damaging to you.
Yeah, no, I'm remembering now, Saladino has he creates a delineation between environmental hormesis and molecular hormesis. So that's a really interesting topic because I don't know the answer on that, but he's sort of saying that molecular hormesis, it turns on certain pathways that are not good for us, but I don't know about that. It kind of sounds like Sinclair is saying the opposite of that.
Yeah, and I don't think we know. Yeah. I think we're at the point right now where we don't know.
Yeah.
I think there's certain things that are pretty clear that we do know. No is an over-exaggeration. That we have more clarity on than other things. I think this whole... I think even the things around the hormetic effect we're not 100% sure of, because how many 100-year-olds do we know that trained really hard, fasted, and did all these different things? We don't know any. Like, none of them have tried that for long periods of time. We simply don't have those studies. We don't have those humans.
We don't have that data because the people didn't do it back then.
Yeah, people didn't even start back when they were 25, so we'll never get that data from when they're 20. All we have right now is like animal studies and rat studies.
Yeah.
And, you know, those don't always cross over to people.
But if you just look at, like, athletes in general, look at how far we've come in just a couple decades. Sport of hockey is, like, night and day difference from when I played high school hockey. Like, the talent of these...
You said a couple decades?
I graduated in 95. All right. Anyways,
that was a good one. You know it.
Yes, you got me. So they're bigger, stronger, faster, like, in every possible way.
You graduated in 95?
Yeah. High school, yeah. Were you alive yet?
No.
Oh, God.
What a crazy question to ask somebody. Were you alive yet? And I wasn't. And I was not.
Youngster. But anyways, I think we should wrap this up because I got to get going soon. So the hormetic effect, do something hard every day. That's kind of what I try to live by. That's all I really have to say about it. What about you?
Yes. Do something hard every day, but don't do it so hard that you cause damage.
That's why I named this company Dynamic, by the way. It's to become dynamic. It's to become resilient. Yeah, do something hard, adapt. Now you're more dynamic. You can handle more.
Yeah, you got to sting like a butterfly and move like a bee.
All right, on that, we're going to leave. All right, John, I'll talk to you next week.
whatever.
Do you have unexplained pain, or do you wonder just how healthy you are? When was the last time you had your blood tested? Blood chemistry analysis is a great way to stay ahead of any health conditions, and now you can have control of your health with Let's Get Checked. Let's Get Checked is an incredible company that sends blood tests to your home. You can choose from over 30 different tests, whether that's liver function, testosterone, micronutrient, cholesterol, or C-reactive protein, which is a marker for inflammation. It's sent to you with free shipping, and you get your results in 2 to 5 days, no physician referral needed. Use the code DPT30 for 30% off. Go to letsgetchecked.com and use the code DPT30. Did you know that you can get started with physical therapy without a physician's referral? Physical therapists don't just solve pain, we get down to the root cause and keep it from coming back. We also discuss all things health, such as nutrition and lifestyle changes. If you feel that you could use some help, let's get on a free consult call. Go to www.dynamicnaples.com and sign up for a free call. Also, if you like this podcast, please give us a rating wherever you listen to podcasts. It helps us spread the message. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.